Hello, everybody. It's Servet Hassan. The name of the show is Intuitive Inc. It is the eve of All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, or All Saints Day, or whatever you want to call it. And so, in honor of that, we have a really spook-tacular show for you. I can't help it. I'm sorry. You're going to have to listen to my pumpkin jokes. I'm sorry. It's been a grueling day. All right, I'll stop with them after. I can't go on. Anyway, the guest today is Amy Blackthorn, and she is a practicing witch and has been for 24 years. And she's the real deal. She's been called on as a media liaison for ABC TV, the Sci-Fi channel. Her interviews have appeared in Associated Press, the Baltimore Sun, Boston Globe, Huffington Post, you name it. She's been there. She also teaches classes on witchcraft and also self-defense. So we're going to ask her about that because she got her black belt the year she made her first degree. And that's not easy to do. And so she teaches that as well all over U.S. and Canada. And she has a hoodoo witchy tea shop as well. So she's into the whole horticulture thing. And I love tea. So we're definitely going to go there with that too. So let's welcome Amy. Amy, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad you could make it Sunday night. And I think you're on the East Coast, right? I
am on the East Coast. Yeah. I am in Delaware.
Delaware, see? And it's late there. So I really appreciate you staying up long enough on a Sunday night to share some time with us on this All Hallows Eve.
Well, absolutely. I've got to stay up late. Going to bed before the witching hour at Halloween is pretty much frowned upon.
Oh, really? So do you start tonight? Is it starting tonight?
A lot of groups have had their Samhain rituals yesterday and today. So it's the fact that Halloween and Samhain fall on a Monday this year. A lot of people are getting their ritual time in over the weekend, just like everybody else.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, that makes sense, actually. It does. Tomorrow's a work day and people are busy. So the celebration and the rituals and everything else have already begun.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I had a lovely ritual yesterday, as a matter of fact. The store where I teach here in Delaware is in a little town called Camden, right out in the outskirts of Dover, and it's called Finding Avalon.
Wow.
And they recently have asked that I branch out in the classes that I teach and start offering rituals for the 8 Sabbats around the world of the year. So every 45 days or so, there is another holiday. It makes it great because we're all spaced out very evenly. It means it makes it easier to plan, which is great. It means it got some time for people to get some fellowship in without being bumped up into 5 other holidays.
Wow. It sounds fun. I love the name, Finding Avalon. And it sounds like you're in a quaint little town in Delaware that was...
Oh, yes, very much so. The town of Camden is quite small.
I like that. Well, okay, let's start at the beginning. First of all, I have to ask you, is Blackthorn, is that your real last name?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
It's funny because I've been married. I was Amy Blackthorn longer than I've been anybody else.
Good.
Anybody legally on paper.
Yeah. Good.
And it's funny when I started practicing, I chose the last name Blackthorn. Over 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. A friend of mine had posted. Somebody said, why do witches change their name? They're silly or they're this, that, or the other. For me, it was a safety issue. The area in which I currently living, it's very much frowned upon. It's a very, very conservative area. They've had problems with very popular hate groups nationwide, nationally recognized hate groups. And even in high school, I started getting death threats from people who would find out that this was the religion I was practicing, that this was what I was doing. And sadly, that was the year that we lost a very, very young lady. She was 14 at the time, of the name of Tempest Smith. Her mother, in response to her daughter's death, founded the Tempest Smith Foundation. She was bullied to death for being a witch. There were stories in the news of a young high school girl who was actually beaten to death by members of her school's football team for being a witch. So, yeah, I've been Amy Blackthorn longer than I've been anybody else.
Wow. Oh, my God. You know, what century is this? That this is still going on, you know?
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. I mean, it's just, it takes you back when they were, you know, different form. You're not getting burned, but you're bullying girls to death in high school.
To death. Yeah. I mean, I was a freshman in high school and had the children who rode the same bus as me try and stone me to death after school, and they got off the bus. Everybody, chased me down to the house, hurling fist-sized and bigger rocks at me because, hey, you know, she's a witch. Oh, God. Do they not, I mean, it's so ignorant. It's just ignorance. It's ignorance because, you know, do they not understand it's a spiritual, it's a religion. It's a practice. It's a spiritual practice, just like being Jewish or Christian or anything else, you know, or Scientology. I mean, whatever. Right? Yeah, sadly, the part of this, I was living in Maryland at the time, and the part of Maryland in which I resided, Catholics were considered devil worshippers. I mean, anyone else it's just degrees of worse. Oh, God. There was no space for anyone that was any kind of different. Oh, boy. Well, they would love me, wouldn't they? Just practices it. I put my hands in everything. I've tried everything. I mean, but you know, and I have nothing against any spiritual practice if it helps somebody, you know? Absolutely. It's like Rumi had a saying that, something along, I'm paraphrasing because I'm old, I can't remember all this stuff, but it was something about if you are pointing at the moon, then who cares about the finger? So whatever gets you to that place of, and I think many practices can, from, you know, it just depends on you personally. It's a personal issue. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are all saying the same thing, you know, very similar kind of a vein runs through, you know, even some obscure human potential movements will all come down to, you know, meditate and, you know, love your brother kind of thing. You know, it's about love. It's about loving yourself too. Absolutely. Right. Wow. So, you know, and I can't believe that still, I know people are still getting bullied, but for being a witch, you know, mm-hmm. I don't even know. Okay. So how did you, I know it gets me really angry. How did you get started in the whole thing? I mean, did you grow up in Camden? Oh, no. I actually grew up in northern Baltimore County. I was born and raised in Baltimore, and Delaware was where I moved after I grew up and bought my own house. The property was better. The laws were better. It was a lot easier for me personally. Well, unless you're a witch. Yeah, Camden is actually an hour away from me. So I drive an hour down there to teach and try and help my community rather than allow the ignorance to exist. So you went there for the same reason many people go places, is because it was affordable and probably nice, and were you already practicing when you went to when you moved where you are to Delaware? Oh, yes. I didn't buy this house until 12 years ago, so I'm 35 now and minus 12. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I'm the same way. It was great. Yeah, I started practicing very, very young. I picked up my first book at 11. My very first book was the same book that gets a lot of people started. It's Wicked Guide for a Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham. A lot of people consider it the Bible of new practitioners and information. And it's a funny story. What actually got me involved was being a nosy little sister. I am one of 5 girls, and I shared a room with my next oldest sister, Holly. and she was 14 at the time. And so one day she came home with a book in her book bag that was with a Guide for Solitary Practitioner. I was a much faster reader, so I was able to sneak in time to read the book in between her gallivanting off with her friends.
Wow.
And I found something that felt like it clicked.
Well, so you were just called to it after that. Well, did she stick with it too, or no?
No. She considered herself pagan, which is a sort of this nebulous term for her. She believes that the forces of nature are omnipresent and doesn't necessarily have a formal practice that she recognizes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whereas you took it the further, you took it to.
Oh, yes.
Right. Okay.
Even younger. I mean, whereas she was still trying to find her way, I had already come out to my family members saying, okay, Mom, Peep, Dad, whoever, I'm a witch. It's funny, the day that I told my parents, my mom said, oh, well, that's interesting. Go tell your dad. And I went outside and I found my stepdad in the garden and said, I'm a witch.
Wow.
And he laughs. He says, oh, I dated a witch in high school. How was your day? Like it wasn't even a thing for him.
Wow. So nobody, your family members at least didn't.
My immediate family, there was no issue.
Yeah.
I went and told my aunt. I sat down with the book and we had this incredible conversation about it. And it's funny because about a week later, my older sister, who we didn't live together at that point, she lived with our father. Mm-hmm. And she went to our aunt and said, "Oh, Peep, I'm a witch." And she says, "Oh, Amy told me about this stuff last week. It's okay. You're all good. How was your day?" Like I stole all her thunder.
Wow. Well, you kind of did there, but that's interesting. I have to tell you a quick story. I'll make it quick because this show's about you, but you'll appreciate this, I think. Raised my daughter myself since she was 5 years old, and that's another show. But we moved when she was starting junior high school from West LA, Culver City area to Orange County, which is very conservative. Where we moved. Very conservative, evangelical Christian heaven. It's where Rick Meyer's church is. Who wrote Purpose Driven Life and all of that, Saddleback Church. So anyway, I told her when we moved, I will get more involved with her school and all of that. So the first thing they were doing was a Shakespeare fair. On the weekend, and they had paper makers, and they were going to have paper making booths and, all that Shakespeare stuff. And they said, well, the only thing we don't have is a fortune teller. And I slammed my hand in the air because I don't really subscribe to any religion, but I know about all of them. I have to for my work. And I said, well, I'll do it. I've got tarot cards and I think somewhere I have a crystal ball, and I got all excited, and this woman stood up and she turned around and she started screaming. She was pointing her finger at me and going, "You're a witch!" And I went, "No." And she just let me have it. And I didn't know what to do. All I kept thinking, though, in my mind, which was really interesting to me, is I kept thinking, not again. Not again. I just say again in this century. And I never even heard what she was saying. But long story short, I was blackballed from everything after that. I didn't get any of the PTA memo things and the school and they just took, and you know what? They would not let me read tarot cards or bring a crystal, nothing. You know what I did? I ended up reading somehow or another. That was okay. So
I guess because you didn't need any tools for that?
No, yeah, I guess because I was just looking at the kids' hands and telling them things. But the funny thing is that because sometimes I can be a little bitch. Don't tell anyone, but I had to. I couldn't help it. I was born in Pakistan. I don't know if you know what I look like if you looked at the website or anything, but I have this long black hair and kind of fair skin, and so I did the whole. What's the woman's name in Addams Family?
Morticia.
I looked like Morticia. I dressed like her, and I went and I said, okay, and I read these kids' hands and I was seeing things and they were, how do you know that? How do you know that? Well, guess whose booth was the most popular? And
That's
after
fantastic.
that, yeah, they never talked to me again though.
I think they're jealous because you are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But anyway, so back to you. I get it. I mean, I really get it because but I never took it. I just sort of disappeared from it. But I can't imagine what would happen if I actually was really practicing. That would have blown everything. Okay, how does this connect into your self-defense? Because that's really interesting to me that you did that so quickly.
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, when I graduated high school, my mother wouldn't let me practice, no after-school sports, nothing that I could get injured. So the minute I graduated high school, I started my martial arts training because of the problems I had had before.
Right. I was going to ask, that's the connection. I was going to ask that. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to have these issues, I'm going to have to learn how to defend myself. And by the time I was 21, I hit my black belt. I was going 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. This was almost religion just because I knew that I needed to be the one to be responsible for my own safety.
Right. Good for you.
It got to the point here even in Delaware, I had moved, over the line, bought this house, and there was still enough of an issue. I've had a guy run me off the road screaming, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," into oncoming traffic. I've had people show up at my house. One of the neighbors showed up on my front lawn with a claw handler in his hand and threatened to kill my pets and burn my house down. The number of things that have happened just because people found out, Amy, she's a witch. I used to have witchy bumper stickers on my car from the time I had a car. And sadly, I don't have anything that's overt anymore because things like that would happen. It got to the point where I started taking classes not just for martial self-defense, but Delaware's a state that allows concealed carry. So I started figuring out how to learn how to carry a gun because enough people had decided that my life was worth taking simply because they didn't like my religion.
Wow. Good for you for doing. Now, what was your black belt in? Is it Taekwondo, karate?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I started with Taekwondo. The school I attended actually incorporated some judo for fun, and I'm hopefully starting here at another jiu-jitsu dojo very soon.
Oh, good for you. I took my daughter to Taekwondo classes around a little bit before junior high school, so she could protect herself if necessary. Because I've gone to hell and back a few times, so I thought, okay, this is going to be good for both of us. So let's something we can do together. And she was like, "Oh hell no, forget it," and she never went back. But I did. I didn't get a black belt though. What happened is somewhere around brown. Just a little bit before brown, I think, and I can't remember what color that is.
Right.
Okay. I really sprained. I think I tore some ligaments in my foot, and then I didn't go back after that. So.
Oh man, yeah. I in the summer when I was I think it was right before blue belt. I was doing a kick for one of the breaking. You have to, in the school I attended, not everybody does the same, but you had to break a board or a brick or whatever with the prescribed form. And I hyperextended my knee and had to spend the summer on the couch, pretty much just immobile. But I would still go to karate. I would ride with a friend from next door. We would ride together. And I would sit and participate in class from a chair. They still incorporated me in all the forms, the punching, everything I could do from sitting down. I still did.
Right.
When it came time for that belt test for the next belt, actually they allow everyone to do a spotlight. Mm-hmm. I spotlight my form in a meditation pose, sitting, my hands in my lap, and my eyes are closed. The instructor has allowed someone to stand behind me so the audience can see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So the person behind me has to do the form that I'm doing in my head, and he's calling out the different moves. And every so often he'll stop and say, "Okay, where are you? Front kick, punch, turn." Okay. And it was great for the audience to be able to see that you can do these forms meditation style and still get the same practice. I could still practice even sitting in a wheelchair.
Wow. Well, athletes have been doing that for years. Basketball player, they have their own meditative, they psych themselves into seeing themselves do that shot over and over and over again in their head. Mm-hmm. Too, so that's amazing. Wow. Well, that's how I hurt my foot, was breaking a board. I could do it with my elbow, but that makes sense because the elbow, other than your tongue, is the strongest part of your body. And but when it came to the foot, no. And it actually still hurts sometimes when when it's raining or something, but I just never went back to it. I thought, I just did as much. I wanted to learn certain moves to know what to do if someone came at me. And then once that was done, I was okay. You've gone the next level. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, which is great.
The dojo that I attended, the gentleman that was in charge of it wanted to make sure that he was used to a lot of women. He said the first day I came in, he said, I'm used to women who are here simply for self-defense, and that's fine. He said, but if you want to go to black belt, I'll get you there. Mm-hmm. And so the first 3 months that I was there was only self-defense by myself after the warm-up with everybody else. And we did everything. We did a lot of ground fighting for self-defense against rape.
Right. Yeah, we went through that too. I had a really great master who, because I was there for self-defense, went through a lot of stuff with me on my own, Mm-hmm. And then the good thing about that was then is I took it home and I did teach my daughter. She wasn't interested in going to a class and getting a belt, but there were some things I could tell her, like if someone grabs your wrist, open your hand, open your fingers, spread your fingers, pull down, little things like that. Never scream help, only scream call 911. Things that he was teaching me that I was then passing on to her,
Right.
Yeah. And that it's little things that they don't even, which I didn't know that. I would scream help, and he's like, no. No one's going to come.
Yeah, we got the same lecture. It was never scream rape, always yell fire because, hey, who doesn't want to see a fire?
Yeah, scream fire or scream call 911 because people will call 911 before they'll come help you. They figure that there's something going on and they'll call. They'll at least make the call. So that's good. Wow, this is all really fascinating. Okay, so what is this then what you turned into your living? Yeah, it really has been. Yeah. I get to be a witch when I am called upon. I get to do self-defense instruction. I got my certification as a certified firearms instructor almost 7 years ago, and I was teaching concealed carry classes. There was a very scary part of our neighborhood that was 6 years ago, I believe. There was a man who was abducting women during their workday from work. They'd go out to their car to try and grab some lunch, and he'd abduct them, have them drive around to different ATMs and draw out as much money as they could and assault them. So I started giving free lectures and free self-defense seminars that were about 4 hours long as fast as I could give them because there were a lot of different self-defense companies in the area, all run by big, strong men who want to help the little girls, and they were charging them an arm and a leg. Oh. Like, this is ridiculous. So I went to my
Chamber of Commerce and said, look, can I borrow your space? I want to run free self-defense classes. And I said, hey, have at it. So
wow, good for
really
you.
Lucky.
No, well, good for you. You're doing good work. I mean, really good work. And then also in the process of all of this, because of your religion here, you really have studied horticulture too. And
oh yeah,
the whole
absolutely.
Herbs.
I started a horticulture class in high school instead of doing a number of other classes that I could have. I elected to go half a day for 2 years to the local vocational school and study horticulture. 1 year was it's supposed to be a 1-year program. And my second year I applied to go back and keep going and keep learning. And I was actually the student teacher for the program as well as running my own horticulture studies. It was really an excellent opportunity to get to learn the herbs. One of the teachers that I really enjoy says, you have no business working with herbs if you haven't seen all 4 of their faces. And it's really visceral reaction saying, okay, spring, summer, fall, and winter, if I can't identify this plant in all 4 of her faces, there really is no business using them. And so I really dug down deep and started working with plants, and not just the herbs themselves, but drying them, propagating them, cultivating them, running the greenhouse itself, making sure that everyone was watering when they needed to. The plants are regular cash crops that the school sold to keep us in business. We're taking care of. We grew poinsettias in the fall and spring bedding plants from probably December on. I was in charge of all of it.
Wow. Okay, and you took this knowledge and then and used it in teas, right? And you have a hoodoo witchy tea shop, which is fascinating.
I do.
I love that. Why is it called hoodoo?
One of the practices that I have worked with for about better part of a little bit over 20 years now is hoodoo. It's American folk magic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I know that, but I want everybody else out there to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been teaching hoodoo for a number of years, and I teach one of the classes that's the most popular is a formulary class. There's lots and lots of really fantastic oils that get used in hoodoo, and so the class that's the most popular is I give recipes and we talk about how to create these oils for ourselves. And so I was 3 years ago now in February. I was leaving a very, very high stressful job that was just making me miserable. Mm-hmm. And I was head of security for 2 high-rises in Wilmington, Delaware. 35 floors of people were in my hands. And, the first day of training, not even the first day of being a whole person, and I had a bomb threat, a death threat, and a suspicious package in the building. So it's definitely some stress. When I made the choice to leave that position, I was home. It was my first full day being out of that place, and I decided to light a candle. Said, it'll make me feel better. I'll light some incense, I'll light some candles. It'll help clear out my mind. And I grabbed a candle, and I grabbed some Van oil from the altar, and I started anointing this candle. And I was thinking, this is great. Have some tea. It'll be fabulous. So I anoint the candle, and I go to light it, and there's a knock at the front door. Okay, I put everything down, and I make sure I have a 80-pound pit bull. Make sure she's not trying to leave with the mailman. Mm-hmm. I come back to the kitchen, and all I smell is the lemongrass and the Van oil, and it smells amazing.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, I wish I had some lemongrass and make some tea to go with this. I could have some meditation time and think about this, and it would go great. Van oil and the lemon and the light bulb went on over my head.
Right.
I could totally take my recipes and turn them into teas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So less than a week later, we had a blizzard. I was visiting friends in York, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half away. And we got blizzarded in. It's an old farmhouse on a blueberry garden. It's a beautiful place. We had a fire stove, and that was about it. We had no power. The power went out in the blizzard. It's far enough away from the road. It's in the middle of nowhere. we knew we weren't going to have power for at least 2 days. So we were enjoying some snuggly time near the fireplace, and we decided to have mad tea science. The dear friends I was staying with, she had about 250 1-ounce tins of 250 different flavors of tea.
My God. Wow.
Yes. So I took my recipe book with me, luckily, and we spent the next 2 days. She was working on her project. She's a graphic designer of incredible talent. She's actually the graphic designer for BlackthornHoodooBlends.com, where I sell all my teas. She makes all my labels, and she's amazing. So I was able to come up with 15 blends in a day, because where else was I going to go?
Wow. Yeah. Well, I don't think there are any accidents in life, really, truly. I mean.
Do not either.
No.
No such thing as an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to open the lines up just in case anybody wants to call in and ask you a question, and then we'll just keep talking. But it's 949-313-8880 if anybody has a question for Amy. She's fat. You're one kick-ass woman, let me tell you. So, and you're very knowledgeable.
Thank you very much.
You're very knowledgeable as well. So, if anybody has a question, again, 949-313-8880. So that led you to the whole recipe thing, because like I know I use I love lavender. I love lavender oil. I think it just takes me to another. If I'm the least bit stressed, I just put a little dab of that on and I'm on another planet. I go somewhere else completely with that. And I'm a big tea drinker too. And I also blend an oil called Seduction, but I don't know, I'm not as knowledgeable as you. I just did it and people kept saying to me, "What are you wearing?" And I blended it myself. I just like to do it, you know. It's not something I do for a living or anything like you do, but it's to me, there's something to be said. These oils and herbs have medicinal value. I'm not a doctor and I'm not telling people to go use them as medicine, but I really do believe that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. One of the things that I did in between jobs and to sort of fill that brain. I'm a very cerebral person. I love to read. I love to write. I'm actually have a book proposal out there in the ether being looked at by some publishing companies.
Okay, we're going to talk about that because I want to hear about your book proposal. But somebody called in, so hello.
Oh,
hello. Hi.
I had a question for Amy.
Sure, go ahead.
Amy, did you always have intuitive instincts even as a child?
Oh, yes. My mom, we used to joke about, Mom would know who was calling before we had caller ID. So I never thought that there was anything different about that. It wasn't anything that, I didn't know that other people didn't do that. We didn't have that in their homes and their families. So when I would talk about it, it was something that there was no shame or anything that I thought was different than anybody else. One of my favorite things that I own on the planet is my grandmother's crystal ball. My mother had it from the time I was probably just barely old enough to walk. And I thought this was the best thing on the planet. I wanted it. It was going to be mine. And Mom says, "No, you're not old enough yet. You'll get that one day." So at 14, she was tired of me asking about it. And so she took me out to get my first set of tarot cards. I actually found them at a yard sale of all places for 50 cents. I was so excited. Then she said, "Look, this is a tool you can have to use for yourself. You can have free reign with it. Go learn, enjoy. Maybe someday the crystal ball will come to you." And about a year ago, my mother came to me and said, "Okay, it's time." And she gifted it to me.
Oh, how nice.
So yes.
May I ask, was your mother an only child?
Yes and no. She was in charge of raising her siblings.
I see.
She was the mom.
And were you an only child, or are you an only child?
No, I have 4 sisters.
And are they equally intuitive?
I think it's in their own way. We like to say everyone has their own gifts, and some people choose not to open the box.
I see. That makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you. I've enjoyed the program so far.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to hang up now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for calling in. That was great. Thank you. Were you going to say anything, Amy? I thought I didn't want to cut you off there because she's still listening.
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay, good. That was cool. Yeah, that was great. In terms of that, do you use your intuitiveness for
every day
work as well? Oh, well, we have another caller here. Yeah, me too. Hello.
Hey, I'm calling in and wanting to ask a question.
Great. Go ahead. Ask Amy. Amy's on the line.
Hi, Amy. This is Lisa. How are you?
Wonderful.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm doing better. I wanted to ask you your intuitive self. I've been trying to fight for custody of my children. It'll be 2 years in January, and I'm doing whatever I can to try and get them. And I just wanted to see how you felt about that it's going to happen rather soon, because I keep waiting, and I think it's going to happen, and it don't, and I think it's going to happen, and it don't. I just, wanted to get your feelings on that.
One of the things that's hardest is to try and do the right things for your kids. And I, with 4 sisters and parents who separated when I was very young, I can completely feel for the position that you're in right now. The spirit guides that I work with will give me little nudges. I don't have obviously anything in front of me. They're saying it's an uphill battle, but if you can keep in there, you're doing the right thing. I mean, trying to make sure that your kids have what they need rather than trying to do it for reasons that other people might think are the best.
Right.
Unfortunately, some people want their kids because they want to punish their ex. No, you're just trying to make sure that your kids are taken care of and getting the things that they need.
Yes, and them being with the other parent, it seems like they're just going downhill, and I'm hoping that the things that I'm doing might come sooner than expected to have them back. And it's not to be against him, but, I just feel that they're better off with me than him. Because, I don't want to take him away from him, but it's just, I don't think he's the proper fit for them, for full custody. Yeah.
I happen to have a tarot app on my phone. The Fool's Dog makes these really neat tarot apps. So I have the Housewives Tarot on my phone. The card that I pulled said delayed messages. Okay, the things that you're putting in for, that you're hoping for, that you're really trying for, keep fighting, because even though it's an uphill battle, it's worth it.
Good.
Okay. It's just, hard to wait. But I have another question, statement or question, I don't know. It's been 1 full year, and it's like, things come to me like it's witch, and I'm like, wow, this is just crazy. People think like it's a negative thing, but it's a positive thing if you look in the positive light about a witch. And, it just really, I don't know what it's saying to me. I don't know, I like to get involved in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't want to say that I'm going to be a witch, but I would like to experience some things what a witch can do. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making
Absolutely.
sense, but
there's some really great resources out there for, I'm not sure what part of the country you're in, but there are Facebook pages, there are groups. I run one called Witchcraft Down and Dirty, and there's spells and there's fun memes and there's things like that. But if you look around, there's actually some really great information out there that are beginning books you don't necessarily know. And the thing about what I'm doing, the thing about witchcraft in general, no one's going to convert you. Witches aren't out there to convert anyone. So just by picking up a book, you're not agreeing to anything. You're just reading. It's one of the things that confuses a lot of other religions. I'm not looking for converts. If someone wants to talk to me about what they're interested in, what they want to bring to their life, that's fine. No one is going to try and convert them. So just getting a couple books out there and trying to figure out if that's something that's there for you, that's great. Like I said, Wicca Guide for Solitary Practitioner is a book out there that's very commonly read and very widely available. Would be a great help for you. There's about.com has a really fantastic page, paganwiccan.about.com, run by a beautifully fantastic woman, Patty Wigington. She runs the page. There are frequently asked questions. There are suggested reading lists. There are informations about Halloween and Samhain, which is tomorrow. There are some really fantastic free resources out there to help you figure out if this is something that might really interest you down the line.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you
Absolutely.
for calling.
Thank you so much for calling.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Great. Well, that was awesome. Say it again, Amy. Can you tell everybody where to find you?
Yes. My teas are at blackthornhoodooblends.com. I have a Facebook page, Realm of a Green Witch, where I keep a blog where there's product reviews and varying thoughts and conversations that talk about pagan and magical interests. I'm a little bit everywhere. I run a question and answer forum for these types of topics through allexperts.com. I'm listed as an expert on allexperts.com in the area of occult studies.
Cool. Well, if they go to one of those, they can find more about
all
you.
of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Blackthornhoodooblends.com lists all my contact.
There you go. That's the one they need then. So we'll go with that. Now, you started before you got callers calling, which is great. You started talking about a book proposal. So let's go back there because I want people to know, because that book, I feel, I'm very intuitive too, is coming out and maybe next year. So I'd like, what's it about?
This is a discussion about taking the sense that we encounter in our daily lives and how to incorporate that with our religious practice. By bridging scent and our memory, we can harness that power to drive our spiritual lives. I decided a couple of years ago, there's a really neat school out there that offers a master aromatherapist program. And it's fantastic. I love it. And so I was working this program, and there was a death in the family. Luckily, there was enough distance that I wasn't distraught. I wasn't upset. It was, like my mother's great aunt that I'd never met. Mm-hmm. But you go out of familial obligation. And so I'm sitting in a Catholic church with most of the family who knows I'm a witch. Like half of them are waiting for me to burst into flames when I walk in the door.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in a pew, and I'm kind of anxious about some of the family members who are there. Are they going to make nasty comments? Are they going to ask why I'm here? Why is a witch in a Catholic church? And so I'm just anxious. I'm a bundle of nerves. And so I'm sitting in the pew, and I'm being anxious about all the varying things going on around me. And I'm trying to talk myself out of leaving. Mm-hmm. Okay, everything will be fine. And so the procession starts to come in. There's the altar boys, and they're carrying the supplies, and there's the priest, and there's the casket on the little wheels being wheeled into the sanctuary. And all of a sudden, I realized I wasn't nervous anymore.
Huh.
So I'm trying to figure out what happened, because something happened. Because I went from a ball of anxiety to, okay, let's get the show on the road. Let's go.
Right. Was it a
Was
it a martini? Was it a martini that did that? No,
that was after the funeral. That was at the wake. That's where the good booze is.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No, go ahead.
Big Italian family. You save the good booze, the good food for after.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No.
So it clicked. As the procession walked past, they had the guy had a censer full of frankincense and myrrh that he was wafting in front of the casket, to make its way up the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain said, aha!
Mm-hmm.
Because the very first coven I was a part of, when I was a little baby witch, the minute I turned 18, I ran out and joined the first coven I could. Never do that.
Oh. Why? Tell people why. Tell people why.
Joining a coven should be like dating. You should date, and you should get to know people, and you should enjoy their company.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go and don't walk up to the first person you meet and ask them to marry you.
Right.
That's not how that should go.
Get it, yeah.
So the first coven I was a part of used a lot of frankincense and myrrh in their rituals. The high priestess of the coven was raised Catholic, so she used a lot of frankincense and myrrh. It was comforting for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my brain interpreted the smell of frankincense and myrrh as, okay, it's time for ritual. It didn't, that part of my brain that was anxious and panicky didn't understand the difference between a Catholic ritual and me being 18 years old and in a Wiccan ritual in Baltimore. It just knew, okay, it's time to go.
Right.
And it occurred to me that the connection on a spiritual level between scent and our sense of self was so strong that we could trick it by creating scent triggers in your brain to respond, even if you're not in that particular situation.
Right. Well,
and so
go ahead.
I started working.
No, good. I mean, this is I dated someone who every time he smelled roses or rose oil or anything rose related would just get in the best mood. And so I always had roses around because I figured that out. And it never dawned on, years later, I found out it's because his mother used to wear rose oil, like a rose scented something. You know what I mean? And it reminded him of his happy child. It reminded him of his mom. And whenever I had roses around, I never put any rose oil on because I didn't figure it out till later, and then we weren't dating anymore and I didn't care. But you get it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think there are different – I think there are sounds. I think there are different things that trigger memories. And one of our strongest senses is smell, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, it's Halloween, there's lots of Halloween parties going on, and invariably when there's adults and adult beverages around, there's that 30-second to 2-minute conversation that happens in every group of what alcohol you cannot have because you were on a bender when you were 17 years old or 22 years old and broke up with a boy and decided to get intoxicated, and so I can't stand the smell of tequila. Just the smell of it will make me sick.
Oh God!
And people,
Southern Comfort and ginger ale.
But that's our brain trying to keep us from making ourselves sick again.
Oh, I won't go near this stuff. I won't even know if I just see it in the distance, the bottle of Southern Comfort. I just go back to that place where I threw up in a fish tank. So, no. Oh, God. Yeah. No, it's true, though, isn't it? It's true. And, like certain songs can do that, too. Like, sound is really important, but I think scent is way up there, way, way up there past that.
Yeah. Sound is what would alert our primitive ancestors to predators in the distance, but smell is what tells us, hey, those berries are poisonous. I probably shouldn't eat those. Remember that time I ate those berries and I got really sick? Don't eat those berries because you'll get sick again.
Right. Exactly. So I find that fascinating. So that's what the book you've just written is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's very helpful. Does it also include some of your recipes or how to?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I thought
there's lots of really neat hands-on stuff, how-tos, recipes, things to help improve your scent vocabulary. I worked for Lush for 5 years. I loved it. Probably the best job I've ever had.
What was that?
I worked for Lush Cosmetics.
Oh,
they're a UK company.
Mm-hmm.
They're worldwide, and I worked there for 5 year. And I loved it. It was incredible. They really care about people and the planet and all sorts of things. but I was really shocked at the limited scent vocabulary that probably 90% of the people I encountered have. Oatmeal, Play-Doh, and baby powder, pretty much the only three things that it understood the smell of.
Right. Well, know, in my essential oil seduction, the main ingredient is vanilla, because really, honestly, men love vanilla, the scent of vanilla. Mm-hmm. And the second scent that men relate to more than anything else on the planet, according to some, I looked at a scientific study, I really did, is pumpkin. It just, men like the smell of pumpkin and vanilla. So, I mean, I wasn't going to put pumpkin in I wasn't going to put that in my essential oil, but vanilla musk I use a lot. I do. Yeah.
Cinnamon is the other most common that men respond to.
Wow. Good to know. Yeah. And I love cinnamon. And I told you, when anything's going on with me, if I need to relax I swear lavender oil makes me high. It just literally, it does exactly what a glass of wine, well, not exactly, but almost what a glass of wine, almost what a good glass of wine would do. It's just, I don't know, I can just get near it and I just go, ah. So something somewhere did that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I can't be, the smell of rose automatically triggers that panic part of your brain because I'm deathly allergic to roses.
Oh.
So my mother and my sisters were all really, really allergic to roses, especially the Turkish rose, where most rose perfume comes from, because the Turkish rose, Rosa damascena, contains the most volatile oil. You get probably 80% of the rose on the market comes from Turkey because of that really heavy rose scent to it. And so the smell of rose, I panic, like, okay, is it on me? Did it get near me?
Oh my God. It's a good thing you didn't date my ex. You'd be in trouble. I was like roses everywhere all the time. Oh wow. Well, and that's another thing too, though, because really in any relationship, if there's scents that somebody's wearing or loves and you don't, it's really difficult. It's really difficult because it's not compatible,
Right.
Yeah, it's like anything else. I can't wait to read it, and I'm very intuitive. I know it's going to be out there soon for the world to get.
I'm really excited about this project.
Yeah, and I don't just say that. I'm not just saying that to be nice. I'm saying that because it's true, really.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that's my intuition. I'm saying it. I think and I'm putting it out there. We will see that in print. I know how long it takes because I've written 3 books for Llewellyn, so worldwide. But so I know that once you give them any publisher anything, it takes another year or so. But it goes fast, and I know we'll see it before you know. And when it comes out, you have to come back on the show.
I will love it. That way we can say,
see, I told you so.
Right here on Intuitive Inc., we predicted that a year from now this book would be in your hands, and here it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I have no problem saying I told you so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I will definitely love that.
Yeah, Go ahead. No.
The number of lavender teas that I have on hand at the house. I'm going to go find some lavender tea after this. I'm so excited.
God, I love it.
I've got about 5 books planned out in my head, and I've started working on a couple of them. So
good.
Hopefully we'll hear something soon.
Oh, I know you will. Trust me, I know you will. And I do I really believe in your intuition too. I think you're spot on about things too, and just talking to the 2 people that called in. And I know I'm going to talk to you again. I just know I am. Right?
Well, now you've got my phone number.
Yeah, I do, actually. And I kind of sort of know where you live. And that's atrocious. I hope that changes. I really do sincerely hope that people in this country, in this world, come around and realize how, it's ridiculous. It is. It's not just ridiculous. It's deplorable to condemn anybody for studying such a peaceful religion. Each their own,
Yeah, absolutely.
I truly believe it. Okay, one more time before I let you off the air, tell everybody it is what website do you want them to go to?
BlackthornHoodooBlends.com. Blackthorn, BlackThorn. There is no E on the end. Every so often I'll get a search for Blackthorn with an E on the end, pop up on the search engine. BlackthornHoodooBlends.com. And it's got divination services. You can book tarot readings. There's a link to my blog. There's different subscription services. There's wholesale opportunities if you have a shop. There's all sorts of great things there.
Great.
Testimonials from classes I've taught, readings I've given, teas individually and as whole.
Right. Also, if you're traveling, do you have a schedule on there of some kind? Because you do go other places and teach too, right?
I do a number of different areas. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to be teaching at a couple conferences in 2017, so those will actually be listed on my website. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I saw somewhere that you had taught in Toronto, even Canada.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really love getting out there. Toronto. I've taught in Scottsdale, Arizona. There's been I'm lucky enough to have the availability to travel, and I love it. I get a bug. I said, okay, I've got to go somewhere. Every so often I'll go, I've been to London, and I can just get out there and teach.
Right. Yeah. Go places, more liberal places. Especially, I have a lot of clients, a lot of people listening in London. So I know
fantastic.
They would love to see you, I'm sure. So that's awesome. Okay, Amy, I know I'm going to see and talk to you again. If I'm ever in the Delaware area, I will call you. And if you are ever in California, you better let me know.
Absolutely. And see, Miss Natalie, who you had on very recently, and I are very close geographically. So if you come out this way, even if you're in the New York area, we can come and meet you one day.
Well, my daughter just graduated from University of Pennsylvania Law School, and she got a job in New York, and she's not coming back. So I have a feeling that I'm either going to have to move there or I will be there quite often because she can't. She's at a big New York firm. She doesn't have time to she's never going to take a day off. Maybe one, maybe Christmas, day.
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely going to be out that way. I know I am. Okay.
Yeah, Natalie and I love to take road trips and go find places, and we will definitely meet you somewhere.
Okay, good. All right, you got it. You're on. And you are one kick-ass woman doing some really good work. Keep doing it, okay?
Thank you so much. You have a great night.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a great show, and I love her. She is awesome. Her name again is Amy Blackthorn with no E. And she gave the website, so you can go on there and check it out. If you want my website, it is servethassan.com, servethassan.com. You can find my books, 3 of them that I wrote for Llewellyn Worldwide on there. I think you can find my first book, too, How to Read Any Man's Mind, is on my website as well. And my blog, Memos from My Higher Self, which is where it's a memo from my higher self every day since January 1 all the way till the end of the year. I'm going to do that, and I've posted one every single day. It's where I explore my own inner conscious, so hopefully it will prompt you to explore your own as well. And there's other things on there, like if you want a private consultation with me, and also where my workshops are going to be, all of that kind of thing. You can find everything on my website, servethassan.com. Next week, I'm going to have Dr. Elliot Maynard. He's fascinating, a real Renaissance man. He's written a book called Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World. Can't wait to talk to him. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, tune in again then, and thank you for joining me. Be you to the full, because that is what is truly beautiful. Thank you. Good night.